All right. I am back. Dr. Rock here. That is spelled R-A-K and pronounced R-O-C-K. And back for my weekly live stream. And if you're back, welcome. And it's nice to see you here. I am the lead physician, lifestyle medicine physician at Rock Your Life. And I'm here to help you live a happier and healthier life. And the way you do that, my friend, is by changing your lifestyle habits and taking control of your health. And in doing so, changing the trajectory of your life. So let's get into it. Today we're going to talk about plant-based family revolution, or I don't remember I don't remember what I put on the thumbnail. But how do you get your family to come along on this ride? And it's not just diet, but I would say we're going to talk about changing food today. I mean, you could ask your family to come on any ride, right? You start exercising more. Those are somewhat different than changing your diet, okay? Because you can exercise with people that like to do what you do. You can go find a group, or you can do it by yourself. But eating is different, right? Eating is something we do communally, and we often, very often, do with other people. And if we live with people, we live with our family, we do it with them. If you have kids, you're eating with them all the time, ideally. So it's one of those things that you're not necessarily doing it in isolation. Um, and maybe if you are doing it in isolation, you think it's easier, but for a variety of reasons, doing anything alone, especially if it's new and different, sometimes that actually makes it harder. We're not going to talk about that today. We are going to talk about how to integrate um, dietary changes. So for me, I've shared many times. If you're new to watching me, um, for many years I ate standard American diet. For many years I ate, food. I say the seafood diet. I used to see food and eat it. I used to eat food for pleasure and comfort. That's how I would reward myself very often, right? I would reward myself with, oh, you get to go pick up In and Out or donuts or both, you know? And so when I changed that I'm not going to talk about that today, specifically how I made those changes for myself. But within a few weeks really of making significant change, and I had worked up to that. I'm not going to talk about that today, but within a few weeks my health markers changed dramatically, right? My pre-diabetes reversed, my blood pressure normalized, my bad cholesterol dropped 40 points, and I had more energy. And it took me a while. It took me probably another 6, 9 months, a year before had to have enough lapses and relapses where I sort of like, you know what? I want to feel good. You know what? I like it that my health is better. And you know what? I found all sorts of ways to eat this food that I really like. So it kept pushing me in that direction. And, once I started experiencing it, I just wanted to, shout it from the rooftops. I was like, everyone needs to eat this way. You need to eat this way. You need to, I was like Oprah giving out you need to eat this way. You need to eat this way. And that happens, right? We want to just bring everyone along for the ride. Of course I would. Why wouldn't I? What I had learned was that a whole food, plant predominant diet reverses heart disease, our number one killer. What I had learned was somebody myself who had struggled with being overweight and then obese my whole life really, uh, was now at a normal weight, and I was enjoying my food and I had more energy. I was like, why wouldn't everyone want to do this? And it wasn't just the best diet for maintaining a healthy weight and reversing heart disease. It was the best diet for normalizing your blood sugar and treating and reversing diabetes. It's the best diet for preventing most types of cancer. So I get it. I was like, I'm even now you can tell, why aren't you doing this? No, if you're not doing this, you know, I I'm a huge advocate for it for all those reasons. And here I was at home, and what was the food that we were bringing into the house that I was often bringing into the house? Processed foods, snack foods, convenience foods. Um, and now my household was a little, I was actually the bad influence for so many years because my wife grew up in she's South Indian, and they were and vegetarian household, and really ate a plant predominant diet. I mean, her parents were just over dropping off some food earlier this morning. And it's like kidney beans, and it's, uh, some lentils, and peas and tofu, and that's often what she ate growing up. And that's often what we would have in the home and eat as well. So my experience, I have to say I was a little, I would say lucky, but yeah, definitely lucky, but I didn't have as much friction. I know people who are coming from, like, where I was, a standard American diet, but the whole family's eating a standard American diet. And so then it's like, well, how do I'm now eating differently. How do I get everyone else to come along? And the first thing I would say is why you feel that way. It's to acknowledge that you love these people. You love your family, you love your friends, you love your colleagues, you love all these people, and you yourself are like, this is it. This is like the best way to live. So let's all do it. I want you to live a long and happy and healthy life. Why wouldn't I? So let's do it. And then you get this, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, I didn't sign up for that. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, that's not the way I eat. You're already getting a bunch of like, whoa, whoa, whoa. That's not the way you eat. Right. A lot of people maybe in your life. So let's dissect that out a little bit. What's going on there? And it all centers around the fact that this is food, and that food holds this place in our culture and in our lives that for many is somewhat sacred. It's how we show love, it's how we celebrate, it's how we commune and come together. And when you change that, it's hard for the individual. This is why it's so hard for anyone to change the food they eat, because it's not just about, okay, now I have to follow this list, or now I have to follow this plan. Also, food is designed to be addictive. So all these, that was the if I'm going to go to my transition, that was the thing. I was bringing in a lot of this addictive processed food, and then saying to the family, like, no, 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 we're not going to buy this stuff anymore. We're not going to bring it in. And it's like, well, you don't. And I remember being told, well, you don't have to eat it, you know. And I was like, well, if it's around me, it's really hard not to eat it, right? It's really hard because that food is addictive, because it's been designed to be addictive, because they put a few grams of sugar in those crackers, because that hits a little bit of dopamine, just a little bit. So the next time you see those crackers, guess what? A little bit more gets released and you go reach for the. So I didn't want, I was like, I don't want this in my house. I don't want this in my environment anymore. And and you start saying things like, we're just not going to buy this anymore. No one's going to have this anymore. Right? And then the response is, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, no, I like that food. I didn't have a problem with it. You know, we can incorporate some of that. So there's a tension there. The tension can be like that, or it could be like, you know, listen, I'm the one, it depends. Every household is different, but depends on who's cooking, who's doing the cooking. And so you're thinking about your family. First of all, the question is who's doing the cooking? If you're not doing the cooking, then you're sort of asking somebody else who doesn't eat this way to cook differently. And they may not sort of understand the importance of it or how to really make it in a way that is enjoyable. Because that's as we get to like how to do this, like that is key. So we're going to talk about the why. Why is because you love your family, you love your friends. The what, like what is it about this change that's so hard? Like why is it difficult to change food? Because of all the things I'm saying. And then the how, right? Because you may still be in then the situation where we're like, okay, I get it. It's hard to change someone's perceptions about food and their relationship with food. It's hard, I get it. Okay, it's not going to be easy, Dr. Rock. Thank you. I've experienced this. Many people have experienced this. Many of my patients and clients experience this. On a regular basis, I hear, the kind of struggle that, oh, this was brought into the house, or this person made this, or wanted me to eat this, or isn't open to. Now the opposite is true too. Yeah, way more often I hear the opposite, and we're going to get to how the opposite happens and manifests in your situation. Okay, so that the how is, and what am I trying to get at? Can you imagine a scenario where everybody, the whole family, is eating whole, delicious, colorful, vibrant food that's nourishing and delicious. Everyone's enjoying their food. So nobody is feeling for lack. Nobody is saying, like, I wish I had that. No, everyone's like, this is the food I love. And this tastes so delicious. And it's so good for everyone, too. So you're promoting everyone's best health and everyone's eating. And there are families like that. And I would say my family is ever ever so off, every little bit kind of progressing in that direction. Is my family 100% whole food plant-based? Because I'm trying to be not 100%, but I'm moving in that direction. My family's moving in that direction. But the way we move in that direction, and this is, I say all the time, is not by like forcing yourself, not by making it a punishment or a restriction. So if I had, and when I started eating this way, if I had then said everyone has to eat this way now all the time, um, meaning my kids were still eating, all sorts of things. Even though they love South Indian vegetarian food, they loved all sorts of other food that I was bringing into the home, all the time, pizza and burgers. And it's not like they didn't eat those things. So we weren't eating them a lot. They weren't eating them probably as much as I was, to be honest. But, then for me to just say like, okay, we're not having those things anymore. Um, Maybe a part of me wanted to do that, or maybe if I'm like, this is probably like 6 or 7 years ago now, I'm maybe not remembering, like, maybe I did do that. And I know now from enough experience and enough time working with other people that that is what is very often met with resistance. So how do you get people to kind of follow along or move along? And it gets to like what I think what good modeling looks like. Why would anyone want to follow anyone? And so it starts with you. It starts with role modeling. It starts with, am I eating this way and enjoying it? Am I modeling that, wow, this really like makes me feel good because it does. It doesn't feel like a chore. I'm not stressed out about it. I mean, if my kids saw me constantly like stressed out about I can't eat that, I really want that, and they used to. I mean, when there's definitely been times when that's been true. Why would they want to develop a dietary pattern like this? Like, I don't want to be stressed out and crazy and anxious about what I'm eating all the time. I don't want them to either. So that how are you modeling not just what you're eating? That's obviously we think about that the most. Like, oh, I should be eating healthy food in front of them. That's true. But how are you modeling your relationship with food and your diet? Is it something that you are at peace with? Is it something that kind of flows through you and is a part of your lifestyle? Or is it something that you really get stressed and anxious and upset about? And because all those things are repellents. People are going to feel that energy and they're going to be like, that's not the way I want to eat. Right. So, dude, that's like to do a self check in. Like, am I just so anxious and stressed? And sometimes the stress and anxiety comes because the other people aren't eating this way. But that stress and anxiety doesn't then bring them along. They don't then say, like, oh, that's the energy I want to follow. So that's to do a self check on your energy and how you are modeling and what you are putting out. And then, um, we have my podcast, The Health Feast. We have an episode coming out next week with David Goldman. David Goldman is a brilliant scientist and researcher who's the science advisor for the Game Changers documentary. And he says something, I'll spoiler from the episode because it really spoke to me. He said, you make it a party. And you make it a fun party because, that's where people are going to want to be. And, it's just something like, which party would you want to go to? Would you want to go to the party where like you get there and they're like, you have to sit in that chair all night. And if you want to get up, you have to raise your hand. Or would you want to go to the party where you get there and there's some people playing games and there's some people dancing and there's all this vibrant, colorful food and you're like, what do I want to do? This is so exciting. So how do you make the lifestyle change? And this is true for yourself too. All of these things, by the way, are true for yourself as much as they are true for bringing your family along or the people that are close to you along. You make it fun. I mean, this is why we call our podcast The Health Feast too, right? Because health is often framed as a chore or punishment. We do it. Actually, the medical community does it too. We prescribe, exercise, and we tell you it's good for you. And those are true things. Exercise is really good for you, and it makes you feel good. And it's fun. When you focus on things being fun, then you forget that you're following something healthy, right? It's a bonus. Or maybe the fun is anyway. But focus on it being fun. So same with your family. So go back to who's doing the cooking. If you're not doing the cooking or you don't have some semblance of the control over the food, it's really hard to make these changes for the family. So you really have to get buy-in from the person who is doing the cooking and bring them along or maybe take on like one day a week, I'm going to cook dinner. And so what are you going to cook on those days? Well, it goes back to like what is your family's relationship with food? Like what are the things that you guys are normally eating? Like if you're eating anything, it can be converted into a whole food plant-based version. Everything and anything. There's nothing. There's nothing because you're really just substituting the ingredients. And if you do it in a flavorful way and you add some depth of flavor to the food, then everyone's going to like it. They're not going to ask like why isn't there meat in this? Why isn't there, whatever? It's like, oh, dad or mom tried making something new and it it's different and they're not, you know, they may not like it. I don't know how many times I don't know how many times I've made and I'm just like, "Oh, I made chickpea nuggets. Oh, I made," They don't like it the first time. They probably don't like it the second or third time. Really, kids, everyone has to eat something 5, 6 times sometimes before they start developing a taste for it. And, the first time you make anything, it's never the best version. That's true for everything, right? Go back and watch my first live stream or this one. I'll look back at this one. No, you keep getting better. Your cooking is gonna get better, the flavors are gonna get better, but okay, ask, what do they eat? Okay, they like tacos. Okay. Let's get creative. Let's actually ask the kids, like, what would you like to put in your tacos? Oh, definitely not mushrooms. Okay, we won't put mushrooms in your taco. Oh, you love mushrooms? Okay, well, let's have some mushrooms if you want mushrooms in your taco. And I have to say, a lot of this comes from the all-time great parenting expert, Julie King, How to Talk So Little Kids Will Listen. And if you don't know about her, definitely check her out, Julie King, her books, her workshops. But I was just doing this last night. I mean, you give options, and the options you get to control the options. But a lot of times, the reason there's resistance and pushback is because if you're trying to like force it on someone, is because you're removing autonomy. You're removing someone's sense of agency. They don't have control anymore. They don't have control anymore. They can't make the decision. And we have a fundamental human need to be in control of our decisions. And you know this. Y'all watching and you know this. You know that when your boss, when anyone, your partner tells you you have to do this, you don't have a choice. Just there's that peace inside of you that's like, whoa, really? I do have a choice. And that's when we exert control. This is when we often rebel. This is often the reason why diets fail, because we are holding ourselves to a set of restrictions. And at a certain point, we rebel. So with the family, it's like, okay, I already mentioned you ease them into this and you make it a party and you say, okay, we're going to eat dinner this way, I mean, once a week, twice a week. And then you start making things that they really enjoy and you start figuring out how to recreate the experience. I love to make whole food plant-based nachos. For the Super Bowl, we made 7-layer dip, but it was all whole food plant-based, right? The queso was made from like oats and roasted red peppers and hemp seeds. And it was good. It was super creamy and delicious. Like, I had like the refried beans and the guac and the salsa and I had baked like tostada chips, like whole food plant-based and junk food at the same time. I was eating junk food. I was just sitting there. I was like, wow, I'm eating junk food. Like, no, I'm not. But it almost like took me back to Taco Bell. I told my wife, because I put some hot sauce on. I was like, this feels like, their Nacho Supreme or whatever. And yet I was eating, like, I could eat more and more of it. My body would tell me when I was too full because it's all whole food. So I don't have to worry about like overeating. And if I ate to feeling mostly full, it's just doing a wonderful thing for my health too. How cool is that? I was eating junk food. I was eating nachos that were so, so good. They felt indulgent. And like my health markers were improving too as a result of that meal. Rarely can people say that, but the cool thing is you can have that all the time. So I make nachos, I make tacos, I make lasagna, I make pasta, I make you name it, right? And like the other thing I said was giving choices, but also bringing the family in, like brainstorm together, look through recipe books together, cook together, go to the grocery store together. Like maybe, my mom used to do this. I'm grateful for this because she take me to the grocery store. She showed me how she picked out different fruits and melons and peaches and things like that. And so I still remember that. I still use those techniques in my household too. My wife didn't learn those things growing up, so it's known that I'm the one who picks the who picks the fruit out. Jeffrey, thank you for watching. You rock. I appreciate that. That's really kind of you, Jeffrey, watching Dr. Hirschfield, watching on LinkedIn. Yeah, if you're watching and you have questions, there is a chat. I don't normally solicit, but you're welcome to. I can see all the different social medias. Okay. So yeah, that's how you do it. You get them in on the party, the taco party, the nacho party, or whatever party it is. And it's a process. That you're not gonna change anyone in a day. You're not gonna flip a switch. A switch may have flipped for you, like a switch flipped for me when I found out I had certain health conditions, and then I saw this talk or this doctor. I'm not gonna get all of that, but a switch flipped for me, but me wanting that switch to flip in other people isn't gonna make it flip. So, it's about just getting curious and honoring their process and their readiness to make change. Because your family may not be ready to make. You were ready to make the change. You made the change. They may not be ready to make the change yet. Doesn't mean they can't get there. And that's what you're doing. You're leading by example. You're showing them how eating this way leads to joy in your life and energy in your life. And then as a result, joy and energy in their life. And then you're going to watch. You're going to watch and see how they change. It's going to be this unfolding where they start choosing and picking things. My son in November, this past November, he turned 8. You know what he wanted for his birthday lunch? He wanted a tofu bar. He wanted like 4 different varieties of tofu. Like we had a barbecue tofu and a pesto tofu and a plain one and broccoli and potatoes. Like this, he picked the menu. It blew my mind, but not really because, and you know what? My children, my children, they don't have any restrictions. I mean, they have some, like, because obviously, like, we cook and bring certain, but like, if we go out to eat, we say, get anything off the menu. Or if we order, it was like, sure, you want to try something? And I can't, now it's like they always order the bean and rice bowl and the tofu bowl it's very rare that they don't, because they look at the menu and they're like, oh, that's the food I like. That's the food that tastes good to me. Wow, that's so cool. We're not having struggles like, oh, you have to eat that. You have to eat that. They're just like, I'm like, can I try some of what you ordered? Because that looks really good. I didn't order that, That cauliflower looks really good. So it is possible. It is possible. Yeah. Jeffrey says kids are great at emulating at this age. Yes. 8-year-old. Yes. 12-year-old. I was talking to a patient yesterday as teenagers. Okay. And thank you for bringing this up. I mean, every kid is different. Younger kids are more likely to emulate in that way. Older kids, especially as they get to be teenagers, right? Like there's this innate rebellion that starts to develop anyway. So but it doesn't mean the things I talked about, making it fun and modeling and putting out positive energy, doesn't mean those things don't work. It means you may be met with some more resistance, and you probably have to double down on those things if you're going to bring them along with you. And a lot of things I've heard this from so many parents of teenagers or previous teenagers is like, and myself experienced this. It's like a lot of things you learned and experienced as a teenager that you may have been rebelling against or saying or whatever, it still leaves an imprint on you. It still becomes then a part of you. And so these teenagers are going to be in their 20s and 30s, and this is going to have a significant impact on them. So it doesn't mean you don't do these things, but you double down on doing it in the way we talked about. Yeah, Jeffrey, as a parent, you are the most powerful role model. I totally agree. I totally agree. And if you're not the role model, then who is? Right? It's like someone on YouTube or but you see what I'm saying? There's so many influences out there. So you create that energy, that role model. I totally agree. Totally agree. Okay. All right. Well, I really appreciate if you watched live or recorded. It was wonderful to have you here. And check out my website, rockyourlife.com. And you can sign up for my newsletter, Rock On. Rock On is a weekly newsletter that is a reflection, a personal reflection, much like these live streams are personal reflections. But in those, I give you three things every week. I give you a reflection, a question to ask yourself for the week ahead. I give you an awareness activity, something you can do to be more aware and develop that awareness in your life. And then I give you a kindness opportunity, which is something you can do to ripple kindness into this world, either for others or importantly for yourself. So if you'd like to sign up for that, you can sign up for that on my website as well. And I appreciate all of you, your time and attention, and I will see you back here next time.